Three, two, one. And good evening, good evening, good evening. If you're looking at this face, then you better know what face to have on. That's your game face. This is the face of Richard the Razor Ewing. That is the face of Matt NoneTheWiser Wise. And you are tuned into Game Face. But Matt, as is always, I got to go with the questions.
Get them.
So, if you're trying to figure out how to make a cast so that you can put together that wax candle that you want to make, you're on the wrong podcast. And if you're trying to figure out how the best way to hold that napkin to your face so you don't sneeze on somebody with the COVID, you're on the wrong podcast. However, if you're trying to get insight into sports in the San Francisco Bay Area, you just put your game face on. And if you're trying to get involved in information regarding sports on a national level, once again, you put your game face on. Welcome, welcome. As I said before, I'm Richard the Razor Ewing. He is Matt NoneTheWiser Wise. Matt, what do we got?
I'm devastated. My heart's broken. James Wiseman possibly out for the rest of the year with a torn meniscus in his knee. So we got that. That may be.
I'm feeling the pain. I'm feeling it.
I'm hurting, but you know what? To make me feel just a little bit better about James Wiseman being out, the Giants, the Gigantes, are off to a smoking start this season.
La Gigantes.
It's only early, but I'm loving it. The A's, they're off to a really rough start.
Oh, man, they got roughed up bad by Houston, didn't they?
Yes, sir. And the Sharkies are making a little playoff push and looking pretty good. And unfortunately for me, because I was a huge fan of this man because he had the greatest goaltender's name in hockey, Devin Dubnyk, was traded today for a draft pick and a defenseman. So,
no.
Sharkies are making some moves.
Okay,
they figured out the goalie problem.
Okay, but come on, he was the guy. He was the one that was putting up the monster saves. What happened?
Okay, so Dubnyk, I looked it up a couple weeks ago, and I'm sure it's changed, but Dubnyk versus Martin Jones. And I was advocating, let Dubnyk get some starts. Let him play the games. And I looked at the stats, and Dubnyk's goals against average were better than Martin Jones, but Martin Jones had a better win-loss record. So, it does solve the rumor. Maybe it'll give Martin Jones the confidence he needs to be a stellar goaltender that you need, or be a hot goaltender going into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, but in the back of my mind, in the back of every Sharky out there, we're thinking, okay, look, if this doesn't work out and this guy starts shining for another team, it's like, okay, you know what? Who's doing the heavy drinking when they make these moves upstairs in the office? What's going on?
Well, the Sharks front office, they've been loyal to some of their big players for a long time. They just moved off Joe Thornton recently, and then they bring back Patty Marleau. So who knows what's going on up there? But I am happy to see them playing better. In fact, the day after you called out your man from the Sharks, number 9. I'm blanking on his name. Your man, though, you're like, you said, hey, we got to get it to him. He's got to score. Patrick Kane.
Vander Kane.
Vander Kane. There you go. Not Patrick Kane. Vander Kane. Yeah. And after you called him out, brother, he scored, I think, 2 goals that next game, or at least 1 goal that next game. So, and that's the top line. And you were right. They got to get going, and they're starting to get going at the right time.
Yeah. I tell you something. I think, and you look at, there's 2 main sports that kind of window each other. Basketball and hockey, they just window each other. They're very similar. Long season, sometimes a lot of moves as far as personnel is concerned, and sometimes it's kind of hard to put your finger on any one person, a particular person. I like the fact that Evander responded after I called him out. Oh no, maybe he's a watcher of the show. Maybe he kind of saw looking and say, "Hey, who's that guy? Razor, whatever." I'm gonna show this guy what I'm gonna do. You never know.
That's what's up.
But I will say this much: we look at what's going on with the Warriors and Wiseman, and yes, this is not a good situation. You don't want to see anybody go down with a season-ending injury. However, this may be a dominant rough blessing in disguise, because you look at the fact that what it's going to allow the Warriors to do in their medical staff is to be able to look at James Wiseman's physical presence. In other words, the biomedics of what he does. One of the things I was reading an article today, and one of the medical doctors, and I can't think of his name right now, Japanese fellow, and he may be wrong. I may be wrong by calling him Japanese, so please don't call and kill me because I made it wrong. Okay. But he stated that one of the things that they're going to look at is they're going to look at James Wise's biomedical makeup, and they do this with every player. What they do is they look up, why it is that this individual, as big as he is, his body cannot respond to certain types of shock within, the bone makeup of his body. Now, you understand, Wiseman's 7'1", okay? That's a big boy, okay? So when he comes down from doing a dunk, he's putting a lot of shock and a lot of pressure on his knees and other parts of his body as well, just like every center in the league. But the one thing that he pointed out that made a lot of sense, and I had pointed this out before, is that you look at the NBA players of the past, back in our day, the Jordan era, that type of thing. They were able to withstand a lot more than these players are in the league this time in their generation. Okay, we look at these players. I mean, come on, you can run them off. Kevin Durant, LeBron James. You look at Kyrie got hurt. All these different players that are really, in my opinion, they are the cream of the crop when it comes to NBA, and yet sometimes they can't even go 2 seasons without getting injured. Okay. And so what does that mean? It means when you look at the biometrics of their physical makeup, it's not the same as the biometric makeup of NBA players back, say, in the 90s.
It's definitely a different game. I was watching just the other day. It was 76ers Lakers, finals with Kobe against Allen Iverson. That was a different game than the game that's being played in basketball today. Guys were getting, if you went to the rack, guys were killing you. You were getting clobbered. And in the game now, there's none of that. You sneeze on a guy and you're getting tossed. Right. So it definitely is a different game. James Wiseman is a different big man. You look at a big man like what Shaq would do. They'd feed him down low in the post. He would get such great position. All he had to do was turn around, jump, and dunk it. Mm-hmm. There wasn't, not that it wasn't an athletic move, but if you look at how James Wiseman got injured, it was a extremely athletic move that he was making. And when I don't know if you saw the dunk, actually we all saw the highlights of it, but when he went to go dunk that ball and he stretched out his wingspan, it looked impressive. And if he would have thrown that dunk down, it may have been the dunk of the year. That thing was lining up to be impressive. Now he got blocked, a great block that was made by Kenyon Martin Jr., I think.
Junior.
And really what happened was, because of the block, Wiseman just fell awkward. It was just an awkward fall. And it's really, really unfortunate for the Warriors, or for any Warrior fan that was hoping that the Warriors were going to make some kind of playoff push. This does kind of damper the hopes of that. So in my opinion, Richard, it may not be a good time to put money on the Warriors to win the championship this year.
Okay, so I feel a segue coming on.
But there's other teams out there that have a chance, and you could put your money on them. And if you were to put your money on them, I have the place for you, Richard. Mm-hmm. It's Bet Online. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all sports action. Bet Online has you covered for all news, scores, and odds. It's the best way to place your bets, and it's free to sign up. So head on over to their website, betonline.ag, or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50%, not a 25%, not a 10%, but a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, that's Bet Online, your sports book online experts.
Okay, there you go. So if you think you got the chops, you think you know sports, you think you can get it done, then hey, go to Bet Online AG and see what you can do. So I also couldn't help but notice, I watched the game against basically it was the Warriors versus the Wizards, and this was a winnable. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know how I'm feeling right now.
Ooh,
Exactly.
man.
Your face expressions, it pretty much tells it all.
You really don't need to say a lot. It was heartbreaking
It was
because they should have
heartbreaking,
won that game.
but this is the thing, though. There were some key things that could have been done that could have put them in the driver's seat to win the game. 2 minutes and 32 seconds left. Wizards run off 4 straight points. Curtis and call timeout. I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? Look, if the team, if you're close with that much time left, and there's a chance you can win this game, you call the timeout, you reset. Okay, you didn't do that. You let them play all the way through. Now, I understand sometimes you let teams play through, but I think that was a decider. It really was, because they didn't have the ability to rethink what they were doing. You had, what was it, Damian Lee coming up taking shots that he shouldn't have took. I mean, it was just everybody using their own mind and not really focusing on the game plan. And that's where, if he'd have called a timeout, it would have been different.
It was a game with multiple brain farts, and that's what's probably the most frustrating thing about this season for me is, and what maybe the thing that's I'm not used to seeing is the Warriors making this many mistakes late in games, especially this year. You could probably get away with one mistake, late game mistake, but they're making multiple mistakes late in game. 2, 3, 4 big blunders. Whether you want to call it, lapses in coaching, or you want to call it lapses in knowing the situation as a player, or I mean, there's just been all of that. And I think it's just we're not really used to it with the Warriors because they've been so dominant for so long and they've had such a veteran presence. And now you have a team that, that's at this point still trying to kind of figure it out. And it's been a tough year because people are out. Oubre's out now with the wrist injury. Wiseman's going to be out the rest of the year, and maybe you're right. Maybe it is a blessing in disguise because, our hopes weren't going to be super high this year without Klay Thompson. And we've always been talking about, next year we develop Wiseman, bring Oubre back, we got Wiggins, next year. And now is maybe really the time, where they can start kind of thinking next year with James Wiseman specifically, because we have to remember this guy got 0 training camp, no summer ball, nothing. And 2 college games. And he's in the NBA, and he's proved that he can do it, in my opinion, and that he can be successful. And the ceiling is really, really high with him. And so now maybe it's a good time, with this injury to kind of reel it back in, hit the weight room a little bit, bulk up a little bit for next year, and work on some things and learn some things sitting on the sideline, watching video, watching tape, some of the things that he didn't get preseason this year, maybe. So maybe a blessing in disguise, but I still think the Warriors have an outside chance to squeak into the playoffs. And once again, in the playoffs, I think anything can happen, and especially when you have the man like the babyface assassin, Steph Curry.
And to your point about the babyface assassin, the Warriors are playing tonight. Playing against Denver, and we got to be realistic. Everybody talks about the league and how special the league is, and the league is really special because a lot of people don't know this, but right now, when you look at professional sports, the NBA is the second most popular sport on the planet.
Yeah,
it's the only sport more popular than the NBA is soccer.
Yeah, and watch out in the United States, soccer is making a big push, and MLS starts in a week. So
yeah,
but you're right. NBA is NFL, I think, is always going to be king in the United States specifically, sports wise. But basketball is really making a push because they have a lot of good, talented players. And it's interesting, and there actually is a little bit of parity this year. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and basically what they've done is the NBA has done something that the NFL struggled with, and that's to expand the game internationally. But I will touch on something. First of all, Saw another Klay Thompson sighting. Okay. Yeah. Saw another Klay was actually working out, taking some shots. Looked pretty good. His form looked like Klay. But the other thing I wanted to point out is that, like I said, you talk about LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Giannis Antetokounmpo. You talk about all these different players in the league, but the one person now this year we are seeing the league turn a different head on the view of Stephen Curry this year. You're seeing it across the league. Everybody's looking, going, okay, you know what? We got to respect this guy. As much as we don't want to in the past, those days are gone. He's hitting milestones, and tonight he may be hitting the biggest milestone of his career. He has a chance to surpass the great Wilt the Still Chamberlain. If he hits 19 points, which he probably will, okay, because it's Steph.
Probably will. He's also on pace. I think this would be his second consecutive 30-point game or something like that. Or I mean, he's on.
No. He's got 7 of them already.
Yeah, I mean he's killing it this year.
Yeah.
And to be the leading scorer for your organization, especially an organization like the Golden State Warriors, who have a very storied and long history.
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive, because I was listening on the radio this morning, and they were talking about other teams' top scoring leaders. You pick the team and the top guy, and it's dominant players, it's elite players, and it's the type of player that Steph Curry is, and has become, and it's really, really exciting and cool to have him in the Bay Area, to be honest with you.
Well, I can tell you right now, honestly, I don't see the only thing that can stop him doing it tonight is injury, but he will probably surpass Wilt Chamberlain tonight. He does that, the MVP talk for him becomes more serious.
I don't think I wish, man. Like, I'm trying to think of ways where Steph can win the MVP. Now, points per game, he's probably going to be the leader point per game average in the NBA. Okay. Most valuable piece to his team, absolutely. Without Stephen Curry, the Warriors are a bottom of the division, the bottom of the league team. Okay, so there's no question he's the most valuable player for his team. It's really, really tough because of where they are as a team. Sitting in the 10th spot. It's not a sexy place to be, especially come playoff push time. So and this milestone is more of a accumulated milestone, so it's not like a seasonal milestone, even though he did it in this season. And he added to that total by having an amazing season with just 30-point game average a bunch. So, but to be the MVP of the league this year, that would be a tough call. But I do have hope. I do think if the Warriors pick it up here, put it in another gear, and get into, make some headway up the standings, more out of 10th, try to get 9th, 8th. He could be in the competition because, to be honest, a lot of the top players are injured. I mean, LeBron's been out, Anthony Davis has been out. So it's really tough to say. I mean, Harden has been in and out. Durant has been in and out. Irving, Kyrie's been in and out. So there's not been a lot of consistent play. Maybe Joel Embiid's probably been one of the guys that's been most consistent. Maybe Tatum, is in the mix. But I would love to see Steph be MVP. I just don't know. That's a long answer.
Well, it's a good answer. Okay. Nicely done. I'm sorry. You know me. I gotta say shout out to my girl, the one and only Tara Vanderveer. Go Stanford. Come on. You got to give it up. Man. It just, COVID year, Tara's been the right. Exactly. Tara's been, basically coaching those girls as long as I can remember. And for her to pull off what they pulled off this year, the way they had to go about it, just really a class act. And hey, the NCAA title is at the Stanford campus right now, where it deserves to be at this point based on this season. So shout out to Tara Vanderveer. I wanted to point out that earlier this year, we went ahead and launched this podcast. We had the great Mark J. Spears from the Undefeated, ESPN's The Undefeated on with us. And at the time, he was actually in the NBA bubble. So this was huge. I mean, he was relaying things to us that the outside public didn't really know about, okay, as far as the operations and what they were going through and everything. I'm going to push to try and get him back on with us, okay? He is actually in the middle of a diary that he's putting on with James Wiseman.
I heard that today, that he's been spending and he'll be spending a little more time with Wiseman, just kind of chronicling and documenting, the rookie season and stuff like that. So I listen, I'm a sports buff. So like if you get, Bob Baker, who played one game as, auxiliary player during a strike season, and he had one at bat, I'm going to want to talk to that dude.
Yeah.
I'm going to want to chat sports with him. So you get a guy like Spears who knows the basketball game, knows the NBA, knows the in and outs. Listen, I'll fanboy out. Let's do it.
Yeah. Now I'll tell you something. You won't be the only one fanboy now. Every time he comes on. And this is the interesting thing about Mark is that we're actually from the same alma mater. Okay. He actually went to Foothill College in Los Altos Hills, just like I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about that. So he's a Bay Area guy.
That's what's up. I love it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna push to try and get him on. I think on the other end of the spectrum, we have to consider that when you look at and I'm gonna push and swing here to the 49ers, because I saw just recently on my IG, apparently Bosa is looking prime.
I saw that on the Niners page. Actually, they posted a couple things about his workouts and stuff. And
Bosa's looking prime. And I'll tell you something else. They went in and they signed the quarterback from Philadelphia, and I can't think of his name now. Sutcliffe, I think, or Sutcliffe. Sutcliffe's a pitcher. Excuse me. I can't think of Neil Sutcliffe. I'm butchering his name.
Yeah.
He was a backup quarterback for Philadelphia, and he had a game where I think it was in the playoffs too, where he actually shined. But the Niners signed him. They have Josh Rosen, like I had to call the Rosen one. Okay, but and they got, of course, they got the great Jimmy G. So they got to deal with this issue concerning the draft coming up. And everybody's.
So are you implying in any way that with the number 3 pick, the San Francisco 49ers may not be taking a quarterback? Say it ain't so, Richard.
You know what? I know you don't want to hear this.
It's a possibility.
But I look at what they really need. And it's just like, why would they sign this guy if the quarterback position is something that they have filled? Because they signed him, they have Rosen, Jimmy G's the guy. Why would you have
at least for next year?
Yeah, but why would you have a 4th quarterback? I just feel like I'm thinking, they got some voids because they lost some key people. And when I say voids, I look at the defense secondary, and I think, they need some spots filled in that secondary, and they know they do.
They need secondary. They need a wide receiver. They need more D-line help.
Exactly.
My question, my response to that would be, so now you have 3 veteran-ish quarterbacks in the quarterback room. You have the number 3 pick. You traded up to the number 3 pick because there's someone that you want like badly, and you have to have them.
And mind you, they are going to the Justin Fields day 2 practice. I don't know why they're doing that, but
okay. So you have that. But from the way it sounds, if you're telling me the quarterback room is pretty much solidified for next year, for sure, then I would be inclined to think that the 49ers are going to be leaning to the quarterback from North Dakota, who is a little more raw, but his ceiling is a lot higher. So he may be more of a project where it's like he's not going to be expected to step in day one and be the quarterback. He can probably be the QB2, QB3, and really be prepared to take over the team when it's time to take over.
Okay, but
that would make more sense to me, I guess.
Now, is this the kid? Because I get them mixed up. There's a kid of those three. I can't remember which one it was. But he had this incredible season where he threw like 28 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And I'm thinking it was the kid from North Dakota.
It was the kid from North Dakota. I did look it up, and that season was actually 2 seasons ago.
Still, I don't care.
And it wasn't against really stiff competition in the collegiate level. Now he did step up into playing better competition collegiately. And his numbers were still good. I'm not saying the guy is garbage. I'm just saying, like, I think he needs more. He's like James Wiseman. It's like, the Warriors take a kid that's 19 years old. They know he's not going to be the franchise player right now, but the future. And I think the Niners trade up. They take a kid like that because they see the potential. And so they trade up to get him and let him sit and learn. But what I'm really afraid of is it's really going to come down to Mac Jones or Justin Fields. And to be quite honest with you, if that's the decision to be made on draft day, I would much rather have Fields. But Shanahan likes guys like Mac Jones, so who knows?
Okay, I got to give a shout out where it belongs, and the shout out has to go to Hideki Matsuyama.
Shout out, dude.
Shout out. He took
that right there. You can definitively say, Richard, shout out to the Japanese community.
Yeah.
The first ever Japanese player to win the men's
to get the green jacket. Very well done on his part. And the man took home $1 billion.
Got paid.
And $1 billion. Man, that's just what do you say? I think about that sometimes. I think about what I would do if I had a certain amount of money, whatever. But dude, honestly, if I had $1 billion, I would begin to figure out what I was going to do. But at some point, it's $1 billion. At some point, you're going to be stuck. Okay, you're going to be going, I don't know what else to do now. Okay, well, $1 billion.
You can live off the interest for one.
Exactly. So shout out to Hideki Matsuyama. Fine job, sir. You deserve that green jacket. And what does this show? It shows that in this country, if you put your best foot forward, if you work hard, if you're dedicated, you can achieve your dreams.
That's right.
And I think it was well deserved. His play in at the Masters was just flawless.
I saw him pre-tee off Sunday morning. I was sitting there. We're getting ready to go. I told my wife, I could not imagine being that man right now. Up 4 strokes, going into the 4th day of the Masters, and you're warming up. I would be vomiting all over myself. I mean, and he looked cool as a cucumber, ready to do work, and he did work.
Yeah, he was very focused, no question about it. He was also very focused at the winner's table. You saw him with the elation of his hands in the air. But you start to appreciate how really, and really it's a message to all of us out here, that are trying to achieve certain goals and whatnot, that if we put our best foot, we work hard, you see, you can achieve those goals. And I think that was the reverberation that he left when he left the scores table. Hats off to him. And he sends a message to all younger people in Japan who want to achieve goals. They're thinking the same thing now, and that's a good thing. Okay.
Absolutely. And you think that he didn't struggle, and he hasn't had ups and downs and peaks and valleys, and he hasn't had to fight to get to where he was.
Right.
Absolutely he has. And you know what? We all do. We all have our fight. We all have our battle. We all have our demons or whatever it is that we need to overcome. And shout out to that man for overcoming them and overcoming whatever obstacles were in his way, whether it was on the golf course or in life, and overcoming them and being the victor in the end. That's what it's all about, man.
Exactly. So, unfortunately, as much fun as we had, Matt, we got to say goodbye.
I'm sad because we didn't even get to Giants talk. Longoria's tearing it up. Buster Posey hit 2 home runs. I mean, I'm bummed, but hey, we always got next week, so come back.
Yeah, that's right. We do have next week. To your point, Matt, you actually said that very well. So next week, you tune in, you're going to get something like this or maybe something more, but you won't know unless you tune in. And like I always say, you can come in, put your feet up. You can have a drink if you want, but if you do, you better have your game face on.
That's right.